Good evening, www.andrewmarkmusic.com. This is Involuntary Van Life, lowest of the low. Points. I tried to do this video out on the old Highway 1, on the old 1910 highway, but the iPhone gave me storage issues, so it's a late, chill evening in the van, and I'm gonna do this video here. Back in March, April of 2020, I did a 3-part series on what should a virus emergency look like, and one of them was called Points, and I had suggested that rather than taking the only tool in the toolbox, the hammer of fiat currency, and the debt currency that causes, significant inflation, that they could, if they so willed, implement emergency measures and target people who need help via points. Okay, so that's what we're going to explore tonight, broken down into 3 sections. I think I'm going to just turn the heater back on here, so we're going to get that pilot light going. There we go. And excuse me for this. And there we go. That's the old propane heater. So, yeah. She's firing up. She keeps the van toasty warm, but I'll sleep with it on. So, in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 times, I wake up and I fire it up. Not because I'm cold, but I have to keep the van livable, and you got to keep moisture out of here. So that means you can't let it get too cold or damp. Okay, so points. It's money. I mean, when you go and obey and consume anywhere now, you get rewarded by the upside down for this consumption with points. It's money. It's an abstraction that somebody said, and you didn't do it. You did not do it, but somebody did. Somebody said, hey, let's use points for money. It's as a means of exchange. You can pay your credit card with it. You can do all kinds of things with points now. And it's a worthwhile question to ask. Like, who said that was okay? Why is it okay? And why could they do it and not us? I mean, at one point, you got to understand that currency is an abstraction. At one point in Holland, people used tulips as a means of exchange. So nothing here is just written in God's stone. This is a human imagination creating this, and so that's one thing you need to understand about currency and money. So you could see by that someone has a vested interest in controlling what gets used as a means of exchange. And with fiat currency, it's been conveniently profitable for those who control it because it's based on debt. So when a dollar gets printed up, there's a debt taken against it. And the only way to pay that debt is to print up another dollar. So you have an economic model that is infinite. It creates infinite growth. And we're going to get to that in part 3 to do with the old 33cc climate change. So basically that lays out the basic premise of this video, right? Now we'll just switch gears here to a second part where I've done a series called The 4 Pillars of the New Earth Commons, where I suggested that instead of the controlled opposition of Marxism against capitalism, yes, it's the same coin, no matter what side you look at. All you have to do is research who Marx was and who he was related to, and he was just being employed to do a certain job. So it's all peerage, baby, and you ain't in that group. So okay, it's late. One of the things about having to warm up the van to keep the van livable is it breaks up my sleep. So you get a little bit zombified. What I had suggested in my 4 pillars of a New Earth Commons is that rather than have this false dichotomy of communism and capitalism, and the communists want to kill the billionaires. Bullshit. I mean, they love writing fiction. What I suggested, a real solution, because of part 3, would be what I'm saying in my 4 pillars of a New Earth Commons, where you have 2 economies. One of them is a residential economy, and the other one's a commercial economy. In the residential economy, humanity's basic needs are not left open to the coercion, exploitation, and predatory nature of the billionaires' system, right? And it would be funded by something like points. Now, there are all kinds of ways to do this. Anthony McHale's on his real currencies. He has his ideas how to go about doing it, but it really should be done. And we'll get to that in part 3. So, now one of the criticisms that comes up with this type of idea is, you're just going to have a planet of welfare bums. And I cover that in my writings on this issue, where, juxtaposed to that currency that funds a residential economy that is a non-debt means of exchange, you have a new education system over 12 years that teaches all kinds of things that you're not taught now, like what happens when you get old, finance, right? Learn about money, learn to grow food, learn to build a little tiny house, or learn how to build, right? Mandatory. Like, you got to learn to be self-sufficient, right? You've got to learn things that you're consciously and willfully omitting from the slave education, the corporate slave education of the last 100 years. So part 3 is tied into Mr. 33, CC, climate change, and please do some research on this con of the 33 and who's behind it. I have many videos on it, but that should tell you right there all you need to know about climate change. Now, I'm going to give you two narratives here, and you've got to tell me which one is coherent and which one is logically consistent and which one's complete and utter fucking bullshit. Okay, so the whole world is being turned upside down with weather phenomenon, extreme weather. I've just gone through it and nearly died from the flooding in British Columbia. What we know about human nature and the archons and weaponry is we create weapons, and we don't create them to put them in a drawer to use in 100 years. When we create a weapon, we use it, and in this case, we use it for disaster capitalism, because all this mayhem is profitable for the billionaires. It also puts people in a state of trauma, and they're much more compliant when they're traumatized. So there's all kinds of motives to do this, right? And now, that is completely logically consistent about the nature of reality and human nature. So Now you compare the official story of Mr. CC, Mr. 33, and climate change. Well, what, we're all going to die. And how do we deal with this? Well, we speculate real estate so that nobody can afford a house anymore, except for the billionaires who buy mega properties on the ocean like Martha's Vineyard. We're told to consume and we're rewarded endlessly by points to consume and obey, through this economic model that at its very core has to have infinite growth, right? It's just built into that machine. So you need to consume and you need to print up another dollar so that you can pay off that dollar, and that's all tied into this consumptive economic model. And because we're all going to die, we widen the highways, and 24/7 we're being, I call my blog Lowest of the Low, because the world is run by salesmen, cheats, and liars, and they're selling vehicles 24 hours a day to everybody, and their children don't have one, have 20, right? Because it's profitable for the corporations. Just endless consumption. The whole solution to climate change by the oligarchs is totally incoherent. It's irrational, illogical. It makes no sense. It's the complete inversion of what you should do if climate change is real. If climate change is real, they'd be giving me a Nobel fucking Prize if climate change was real. Because what I'm suggesting, and people like me are suggesting similar things, would actually might mitigate the problems. Not saying it wouldn't be complicated, but it could be done if there was a will for it to be done. So you have these two narratives where one is completely consistent, the other one is just, it's a joke, it's entirely inconsistent. So that's basically what I wanted to say in this video, that it is possible to create an abstraction as a means of exchange and not have debt and inflation tied to it. But we are in the upside down. So here's a quick a video of the van at night. It's a beautiful, clear night for a change. Stars are out. I kind of got this looking like, if you can imagine unfinished, of course, but if you can imagine an old 1890s ship, that's a bed back there. It's actually really, really comfortable if you're a fucking hobbit, and you like living in 8 square feet, So yeah, this isn't, I've done blogs about why I'm here and who put me here, and yeah, no need to rehash that right now. So another song on the way, another van life song. It was so loud, the rain was so loud for so long, I couldn't practice jazz, so I pulled out the old classical because at least I could hear it. So I've got another van life song called 2 + 2 = 3. Hopefully I'll get that up next week after I refine it a bit. Now, please understand that these are just songwriting demos, okay? With me in a van playing beat up old classical with what little vocal talent I have. So anyway, this is AndrewMartinMusic.com, Lowest of the Low, Involuntary Van Life, points, peace out.